Well, hello there. Today's topic is about impromptu speech. To make you understand the very gist of impromptu speech, I will show you a scene from the movie The Wolf of Wall Street. Leonardo DiCaprio is portraying the salesman Jordan Belfort. So Jordan Belfort had asked a room full of people to sell him a pen. Let's watch it. Did you notice the first guy's surprise in the face when he was asked by Leonardo to sell him a pen? He was indeed dumbfounded by the sudden request. He had only a few seconds to think of a reply. That's how impromptu speech works. The difference of impromptu speech is the time of preparation. Usually, you only got a few minutes and sometimes a few seconds to think of a reply. We all experience frustration whenever we cannot say something about a concept during class recitation or a few words to a friend during his or her party or about an event given the little time to prepare and think. This is an example of an impromptu speech. Time differentiates impromptu speech from other types of speech. When you are called to deliver an impromptu speech, you have limited preparation time, 2 minutes or even less in some instances. In fact, if you notice, you always give impromptu speeches. Examples: when you are tasked to recite in class, when you are requested to give birthday greetings, or when you are required to react on an issue that involves you. Since you have limited time to prepare for an impromptu speech, you should know some strategies to deliver that speech effectively. The first thing you need to know is how to structure your speech in a limited time. So this is the first one. Use a virtual outline to structure your talk or response. So in making an outline, it doesn't have to be complex. It should be simple because you only have a limited time to think. So example is the first one, past, present, future. If you are asked something about an issue or about a feeling you have for something, for example, you were asked to express your feeling about delivering an impromptu speech, you can relate your experience in the past and then connect it to the present and imagine what will happen in the future. So that's the structure that you may follow, the past, present, future. Here's an example. In the past, I was not comfortable doing impromptu speaking because I could not think right away of what to say, maybe because of nervousness and limited preparation time. At present, however, I am enjoying it because I constantly practice and keep on participating in any speaking situation. In the future, I look forward to teaching others how to tackle impromptu speech situations. So that's how you structure the past, present, future outline in an impromptu speech. It doesn't have to be complicated. It must be something natural that will come out of you. The words must be natural. That's it. That's for past, present, and future. The next one is very simple to the point, reason, and then example or explanation point. So in the point, you are going to tackle your, for example, your opinion. Your opinion. For example, I love Facebook. And why do you say that? Why do you think that you love Facebook? Of course, you have to state your reason. So the next thing that you have to do is state your reason. You may organize it into 2 reasons, 3 reasons. It's up to you. So after stating your reason, you have to explain it. Explanation. You have to explain it. You have to explain further your reasons. And then on the last part, you have the point in which you just have to reiterate what you stated in the point. Reiterating. So as you can see here, the argument or the speech is kind of circular. You start with the point, I love Facebook, and then you state your reason why you love Facebook, and then you explain the reason, and after explaining it, you reiterate your point. You go back to the beginning. So that's point, reason, example or explanation, and then point, back to the point. Let's read the example. Example, impromptu speech. I love Facebook. Two reasons are, it helps me easily reconnect with old friends, and it makes me more updated of the happenings around me. Through Facebook, I am able to contact my old friends in other countries and reminisce about wonderful memories of the past. It is such a joy to reconnect with them. Also, through posts on Facebook, I keep abreast of the current events, which have implications for my role as a citizen in this nation. Facebook, indeed, is a useful social network site. This is why I love it. Notice the structure of the sentences, specifically the example or explanation. As you can see here, the speaker, the supposedly speaker, uses connectors like also, and, through. So those are connector, and it helps your speech more organized, and it makes the flow of your thought easy. So that's how you do it. Okay. So that's point, reason, example or explanation, and then back to the point. This is the next one. We have the opening, rule of three, and clincher. First, let's explain the different parts of this structure. For the opening, it's more like an introduction. It's the introduction of your speech. Why are you stating this one? What's your reason for delivering that speech? You could also use this in acknowledging the audience. It could be the opening. And then the rule of three is you state three reasons or three arguments in your speech. And then the next one, the clincher, it's a fact, argument, or event that settles a matter conclusively. In short, it's the conclusion. Let's read the example to have a clearer understanding of what this structure is about. Every time I see homeless families, it breaks my heart. That is why I have been inspired in doing three little things to help alleviate the poor conditions of these families. First, I feature them in my writings, which I submit to editors for publication. I highlight their sad and bad experiences living in the streets, as well as their dreams and aspirations in life. Second, I actively participate in organizing and facilitating livelihood programs for them. Finally, I joined a series of campaigns and awareness activities on fighting poverty by different non-profit organizations. These three are my baby steps towards achieving my vision of freeing this nation from the bondage of poverty. Alright, so that's an example of an impromptu speech under opening, rule of three, and clincher. And as you noticed in the opening, it states the reason why the speaker is delivering that speech. He or she said that he or she had been inspired in doing three little things to help alleviate the poor conditions of families. So it's all about alleviating the poor conditions of families. It's about poverty, helping people who are poor, families who are poor. So that's about the opening. And for the rule of three, he or she stated the different steps that he did in alleviating those problems. And as you may have noticed, the speaker used connectors, the first, second, and finally. So that's one way of making your speech organized, as stated in my previous example. And then the last one, the clincher, or the conclusion. As said, it's the conclusion of your speech. This is where you put, or where you say why are you doing those three steps. So according to this speech, these three are my baby steps toward achieving my vision of freeing this nation from the bondage of poverty. So that's it. In some cases, you will encounter certain problems like not being aware about the topic or not being interested in the topic. This usually happens and is sometimes inevitable. Distinguished Toastmaster Craig Harrison shared the following strategies or frameworks that can help you address the dilemma. So this is in case you don't know the topic you are being asked about, or if the topic is not interesting enough for you. So this is how you will address those problems. The first one is the bridging building connection between what you don't know to what you do know. So in case you don't know a certain topic, this is what you will do. For example, the topic you were asked about in a recitation is, you were asked about your reaction on the conflict in Russia. But the problem is, you have no knowledge about the existing conflict in Russia because you do not follow it. Your solution is, find a way to bridge what you don't know and what you do know. So, what you will do, your response should be something like this. I would imagine the conflict in Russia to be like a conflict in my family. The following are some steps that I observed in patching up the conflict, which at the micro level may be considered by the Russian government. As you can see here, it's quite a complicated topic, politics, especially in Russia. It's a place where we don't care a lot about. Russia, who cares about the politics there? So if in case you are asked about this, this kind of questions, you just have to connect it to something that you know. For example, family problems. So you are going to create an analogy between Russia and the problems within the family. So, quite easy, right? The next one is what we call reframing. This is reframing, rephrasing, or redefining a topic the way you like it to be. This usually occurs if you think the topic is inappropriate or it is not meant for you. Okay, so reframing is something that is not quite, if the question does not fit you, or if you think that the question is not appropriate for you. So all you have to do is to reframe the question. Suppose you're given a topic you just do not like or one that is not right for you. Do not despair. Reframe it as one you would like to respond to, at least the way you would like it to be. Keep the structure but alter the subject. So remember, you just have to alter the subject. Change the subject. Rephrase the question or even challenge it. Explain why the question given is not the right question at all. So instead of asking or answering directly the question, you are going to challenge the question. You are going to state why the question given is not right for you. For example, your topic is you are asked to compare two forms of government, the democratic and the parliamentary. But the problem is you think that is not right for you because you are a science major. So you are a science major and you were asked about politics, forms of government. So the solutions should be: find a pair of anything that you think is worth comparing. You can compare natural science and social science in terms of concepts and processes, or the computer and humans in terms of capacity and efficiency. So your response would be a little something like this. This reminds me of the complexities in differentiating two concepts in science. These are natural science and social science. Just like democratic and parliamentary, these two differ in terms of concepts and processes. Well, I think this is the great non-answer to a question, because you did not directly answer the question, but you were able to answer it. You were able to explain it, although you do not know the difference between democratic and parliamentary government. You answer it by using a concept that you already know. So through that, you already reframed the question. Okay, so the next one is what we call playing the devil's advocate. It refers to you standing on the opposite side. So you are going to the opposite side of what the general public thinks. For example, you are asked whether the government should allocate bigger budget for national defense or not. Okay, so this is more in politics again. So you are asked if the government should allocate more budget to the PNP, the Philippine National Police, or not. But the problem is you have no idea about defense policy. Instead, you are more knowledgeable about education. So what you will do here is to play the devil's advocate by saying, instead of allocating more money to national defense, why not in education? Let me share why education should be prioritized. So instead stating why or why not allocate more budget to the national defense, you played the devil's advocate by saying that money or the budget of the government should be allocated instead to the education sector. In the solution, you have to say no to defense and yes to education. So we're done talking about the use of virtual outline to structure your talk or response, and we've discussed different outlines like past, present, future, point, reason, example, explanation, point, opening, rule of three, clincher, etc. So now let's talk about the second one, the second tips on some time-tested strategies in doing impromptu speech. And the second one is, as you can see here, keep your speech brief and to the point. As said in the GIF, let's not beat around the bush, meaning you go straight to the point. So in doing a speech, you go straight to the point, because if you keep on prolonging your speech, your audience might get bored, and with boredom, your speech will not be memorable. So keep your speech brief and to the point. Number 3, do not apologize or say, "So sorry, I'm not really good at giving impromptu speeches." Or, "I'm sorry, I don't know what to say. I have no idea." Avoid saying something that will affect your credibility as a speaker. In my case as a teacher, if I don't know the answer to a question that one of my students asked, I will answer them by saying, "I don't know the answer to that question yet, but I will definitely research it. And in our next meeting, I will definitely have an answer for you." I think that's the best response to a student, because if I say sorry, it will definitely affect my credibility as a source of knowledge to my students. I won't have to lie. I do not need to lie. I just have to be honest with them, but I will not say sorry, because it's my job as the teacher to research, to be knowledgeable about the topic, but it doesn't mean that we know everything about it. In your case, as a speaker, do not apologize. It's not advisable to apologize in the beginning of your speech because, as said here, it will affect your credibility. Find ways on how to say, not sorry. Okay, so that's the third one. The next one is, if you need time to process what to say, begin by greeting your audience. It's one way of prolonging the time of your thinking. Acknowledge their presence and thank them for coming to the presentation. Okay, so if you don't know the answer yet, just begin your speech by greeting your teacher or your fellow classmates or the audience. And that way, you will have more time to think. The next one, the fifth one, is very important. You have to read a lot so you are always well informed of the happenings and knowledgeable about any topic, especially if it's recitation in class. Of course, you really need to study, you really need to read. And not only during recitation, reading is a necessity to exercise your mind, because through reading you will learn better, you will know a lot of things. Okay, so remember, you have to read a lot. And then the next one, the sixth one, is to create or recreate a story. In this sense, use your imagination and make up a story. Alright, so this one, you can be creative. You can be creative in doing a story. You may use figurative language or exaggerated language in order to capture the imagination of your audience, and through their imagination you will have their attention. Okay, so create or recreate a story. And for the last strategy, you have to speak slowly and clearly. Because if you speak very fast, your audience might not understand what you are saying. So in order for you to speak slowly and clearly, you have to be calm and take a deep breath. I know this is very hard to do, especially in a large group of people, but it will take time for you to get used to it. So while you're still learning to speak in front of a lot of people, all you have to do now is to pretend to be confident. Okay, remember, you have to pretend that you are confident in front of a lot of people. But ma'am, how are we going to do it? How are we going to pretend that we are confident? You just have to stand straight and keep your chin up and stay calm. Okay, and that's my usual technique as during my college years, because I was not really good in public speaking. So what I did is I pretend that I'm very confident, and through that pretension I became used to it, that it becomes a reality. So don't worry if you're very nervous in front of a lot of people. It's very normal. It will take time for you to be able to feel confident. But so while you're still learning, all you have to do is to pretend that you are confident, and through pretension you will learn how to relax. Okay, so that's it. Those are the strategies that you have to follow in order for your impromptu speech to be effective. The next thing that we are going to talk about is the power tips for effective impromptu speech delivery. It's divided into 3 parts. The first one is before the speech, the next one is during the speech, and the last one is after the speech. Let's discuss first before the speech. What should I do before I deliver my impromptu speech? First one is smile, just smile. Remember what I said earlier, that you have to pretend that you are confident. One way of pretending that you're confident is by smiling. Just smile. And then relax by thinking positive things. In mind, keep telling yourself, I am a brilliant speaker. I will nail this presentation. It's more like cheering yourself. And then next is identify your purpose. What's your purpose in delivering that speech? Is it to inform, to entertain, to welcome, to congratulate, to apologize, to give birthday greetings, etc.? So, after relaxing, of course, you will now have the time to think. So, the next thing that you have to do is to identify what you will do in your speech. What is your purpose in front of that a lot of people? Okay. And then the next one is choose an appropriate structure for your speech. We've discussed earlier the different structure for your speech. All you have to do is to choose what's the most appropriate one. And then the next one is start outlining in your head. Focus on what to say first. Be reminded your first few words are crucial, so make them strong, powerful, and catchy. So, delivering a speech is much like writing an essay because the introduction always matters. The introduction is where you will hook your audiences, your listeners, to make them listen to you more. So, you have to make your introduction interesting, catchy, powerful. Okay, so that's what you will do before the speech. And since you have the outline inside your head, what you will do now is to deliver your speech. What will you do during that speech? Here are the tips. When you are called, keep composed, walk slowly to the lectern or center stage or microphone. Remember, pretend to be confident. Keep composed, so all you have to do is to stand straight. By standing straight, you will have the illusion of being confident. Okay, stand straight. Don't be slumped. Don't slump because it will affect your composure. And then, when necessary, shake hand with the one who introduced you. So you have to shake hand for example, with the MC, for example, or if you're in a wedding, shake the hands of the groom and the bride. And then the next one is, as you stand to deliver, maintain eye contact. Begin right away with your opening statements. Okay? So, remember our lesson with nonverbal communication. You have to apply those tips. Aside from smiling, you have to have eye contact with your audience, with your listeners. And then begin right away with your opening statements. Part of your opening is greeting your audience. So when you greet, you have to smile. And during the speech, you also have to remember that you have to use gestures. Okay? So don't forget nonverbal cues, nonverbal communication, gestures, facial expression, etc. So that's for during the speech. The next one is from your initial idea to the next, use appropriate transitional devices. Examples are first, second, third, or before, after, or then, now, or initially, finally, also, nevertheless, but. Those are examples of connectors or transitional devices. Example, you can look for those examples in the previous speeches that we've discussed earlier. So those are examples of transitional devices or connectors. And then the next one is observe the appropriate and effective nonverbal cues as stated earlier. And then observe time limit. Remember, you barely have 5 minutes to say something. Okay, so remember that you don't have to keep your speech so long. You don't have to make it a sauna and make it 2 hours long. Keep it short and simple. Alright, so that's the for the during the speech. The next one is after the speech. Very simple. Say thank you and then return to your place comfortably. Okay, so those are the things that you have to remember when delivering an impromptu speech. Okay, so today we have discussed the meaning of an impromptu speech and some time-tested strategies on delivering a speech. We have learned the different outlines of speech and ways on how to um, solve the dilemma in delivering an impromptu speech. For example, if you don't know the topic that you've been asked about, or if the topic is not very interesting for you. Also, we have discussed the different tips for effective impromptu speech delivery. So that's it for today. I hope you learned something, and I hope that the lessons we've discussed today will be applied in our activity. Bye. Thank you.